Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak on behalf of some concerns raised to us by Margaretta Pos, from the resident of the East Coast who lives in Falmouth, or in the Falmouth area, and she has written to us and to the Minister for Environment, Parks and Heritage about her concerns about the bushfire risk in the Falmouth area, in fact in the whole of the East Coast, and she points to the reports from the Examiner and the Mercury which have highlighted the great fire risk on the East Coast, how dire that fire risk is still, and her concern for the tinder dry and flammable detritus in her area, and the real concerns where the fire occurs, that it would be a conflagration that she said that would engulf her house and many others. I know these are concerns that many people in rural areas have, and indeed in Hobart, the Lord Mayor of Hobart, Anna Reynolds, made a very important statement on the back of the comments by Mike Brown, the previous Tasmanian Fire Service Commissioner, and many other people, experts and people who have served in the fire service, about the very high risk of extreme fire in the dense forested bushland areas around Hobart, spreading into Hobart, and the possibility for 1967 level fires here again. It's not a case, she said, of if but of when. So people across Tasmania understand that last year's extreme, huge bushfires in the southwest, the central Highland area and in the northwest were not exceptional. They are part of a new, substantially changed climate system. It is a taste of the future for all of us, unfortunately, as the climate breaks down. And we really support Ms Pos's concerns on behalf of her and other people in Tasmania. We will continue to raise the failure of the government to put the resourcing into bushfire prevention. The real concern that we have, that the Minister has not actually accepted the recommendations from the AFAC review into the last year's bushfires. They've only been accepted in principle. There has been no indication of the level of budget resourcing put in to those recommendations, or even which ones are going to be carried out. But all of this has to be framed in the context of the global strike for climate, and it is just not good enough for the Liberal and Labor parties to acknowledge the concern of those students who marched. Acknowledging the concern is simply recognising from looking out the window upstairs in Parliament that they're there. Acknowledging that they're there. That's not enough, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's not enough. And, Labor stood with the government on this, and it was stood here in the House and voted to acknowledge the concern and not to support them. We must support people. We must support young people who understand the science. We must be the voice in this place of reason and of science, because that is the only way forward in the future. We cannot continue to sit in a business as usual mode. It is comfortable, it's what we know, it's what we think we can scrape through on, but it's wrong, very wrong to continue to think that way, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's not only wrong, it's dangerous. If we continue down this path, knowingly continue into a path of lies and deceit, then we are responsible, and we will ultimately be held to be criminals, climate criminals, as governments like the Australian government ought to be called. Governments around the world are being held to task by their citizens, taken to court for their failure to act. We too run that risk, and it's not the risk of going to court that should drive us. It is the risk of the future that will unfold if we don't do everything we can to bring down emissions and to help people adapt to the changing climate.